Welcome to Iratus, Lord of the Dead. We're playing as a Necromancer in this action roguelike RPG experience. It's turn-based combat. You can create your own minions from the fallen body parts of your enemies, and we're going to start a new game here. So technically what you can do is, well, you can play on all these difficulties. Unfortunately, I haven't actually finished the tutorial yet. Now, I have actually gone through the tutorial, but apparently it has not, it hasn't given me the actual, you know, confirmation that I've actually completed it. But as you can see, we're getting some blood here, we're getting some visceral combat, and there's all kinds of really amazing things that you can do in this game. So as we go through the tutorial here, I'm actually just going to explain things with my own words, because obviously I could just read the tutorial messages, but I think it's just a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more organic for the videos, video's sake, to just say what I think about the whole system. So I don't know whether you can tell, but there's two bars underneath the enemies, and these two bars, they represent sanity and they represent vigor. Now, vigor is obviously the HP of the opponent, so basically, the red bar, and sanity is the purple bar. And well, basically, once you have reduced an enemy's sanity to 0, and then use another sanity ability, so for example right here, I'm reducing this guy's sanity to 0, so he has literally 0, and if I had some kind of ability that was ticking away, so like a damage over time effect, but for sanity, I could have killed this guy instantly, basically. Now, this is basically pointless for me to attack with the skeleton because he already has 0 sanity, so now I can attack with my Banshee, who is using Scream, which is a stress attack that deals 75%, 14 to 15 damage, and moves the target to a random position. But it's a stress attack, so it doesn't actually deal damage as you would think. It deals damage to his sanity and not to his HP. However, here's the interesting part about sanity. If you reduce someone's sanity to 0 and then use another stress attack, they die instantly. So you'll see that here. Boom.
Your cries are music to me.
And hopefully we will be able to do some damage right here with our next abilities. So we will hopefully be able to take him out. There we go. Fantastic. So now that his sanity was obviously 0, you can take him out instantaneously, which is really, really nice. Now, as you can see, we're getting a whole bunch of different items here. So we're getting bones, blood, flesh, skulls, hearts, all kinds of wonderful things. You can use these ingredients to create minions. So let's go over to our creation tool right here. And there are different rarities as well of monsters and various denizens that you can create. If you'd like to check out the game, by the way, there is a link in the description to the Steam store page that will take you right there, and I'd highly recommend checking it out because I probably will miss a couple of things in the video, and the store page will obviously, fill in those missing gaps. And talking about filling in those missing gaps, let's actually see what we're going to create here. So we've already got a skeleton and a banshee. We don't really want those anymore. So what about zombies? What about a bride of Iratus? That would be pretty fun. What about a wraith? A dark knight? You can see that they all have different HP values. They all have different damage values. And I think we might want to choose a wraith. I think a wraith seems pretty fun. It uses magic attacks. And it also does come with stress attacks as well. So I'm actually thinking, do I want to concentrate on doing HP damage, or do I want to concentrate on doing stress damage or sanity damage? Because I could technically go for a Dark Knight. Dark Knights have some really cool abilities because basically what they can do is they have stances. Stances are these unique kind of things where your unit goes into a kind of trance, or stance in this case, and basically would then afflict the enemy or afflict your own units with some kind of buff or debuff, dependent on whether it's a friendly unit or not. And I think that's actually really cool. That's a really cool way to go about it. So I'm actually going to go for a wraith, I think. Oh, can I? Yeah, I can do that. There we go. Okay, so there's a wraith. And by the way, there are 4 different squads that you can go with here. So for example, if you have a particular battle that you think is going to be dramatically difficult for physical damage units, then technically what you can do is you can then have another party, another squad, filled with wraiths and banshees and other units that are capable of dealing stress damage instead, which is really nice. As you can see right here, we have a number of other units that are currently not yet unlocked, because obviously you're going to need to do a variety of different things. So we have liches here, mummies, shades, ghouls, bone golems, vampires, and all kinds of other things. And you're going to be able to unlock those as you go forward. So instead of going for another wraith, I'm actually going to get a Bride of Iratus. I think that might be quite fun. Or maybe a zombie. A zombie has 125 HP. Might be pretty fun to go for something like that. So let's go for a zombie. Why not? So there you go. So we've created those two. And we have a pretty decent mix of units here. So we have a wraith and a banshee, skeleton and a zombie. So we've got our front line and we have our back line. Let's go to the dungeon. The kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle, great veins of iron that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarves were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions for the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies that could obey, and that the humans could provide. With dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels, there was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper, year after year, unaware of the mortal danger that awaited them below. From us, of course. So, we can now continue onward. Now, these are all randomly generated, by the way, because the ones that I have done previously, look at how massive this is. Look at how massive. That's the exit over there. But the one that I've done before had 3 different paths. This only has 2, but you can see here that if you go around here, then you have a wide variety of different selections, options about where you want to go. So let's go for the initial battle here. Obviously, because this is the tutorial difficulty, technically, you're going to get a whole bunch of these pop-ups that tell you how to play the game and everything. It's very nice, in my opinion, that they've done that, because these kinds of games do have a lot of intricacies, and, well, they actually say at the very beginning of the game, before you even get to the main menu, that this is a hardcore action roguelike RPG sort of experience. So it's going to be, yeah, very difficult indeed. So let's see if we can do some damage. I'm going to try and do HP damage to this guy if at all possible. I'm hopeful that I won't take too much damage here. And obviously, as we go through this particular level, our units are going to suffer damage, and that damage is going to be persistent, as far as I'm aware. Unless you get to one of those vitality shrines. There's actually a vitality shrine kind of place where you can restore your HP. So we'll see how that goes. All allies gain dread for their next action. Doesn't stack. Well, I'm actually going to do that. Let's buff everyone. Apart from the skeleton, of course, because the skeleton is immune to all buffs and debuffs, because there are features, there are these special kind of passives that every single unit has. So, for example, the Banshee has a feature that basically makes it so that the chance of enemies escaping increases by 2% each turn until it reaches 20%. And then we have the other guy over here, this Taskmaster guy, who has the ability that when he dies, his allies recover 30 sanity. So it's a good idea to try and kill everyone else, in my opinion, and then go from there. So let's see what else we have with the Wraith. We have Ghostly Veil. It's a trap. Summons a concealing cloud for 2 rounds. Any minion within the cloud receives 25 plus evasion. That's really nice. Then what else do we have? The Wraith gains +6 dread until the end of battle. That sounds pretty good. Whoa, Necrotic Wind seems really nice. We're going to use this against this guy. Wow. Oh, that much sanity damage. That was crazy. Okay, that was really, really crazy. Okay, so the zombie actually does seem to have some kind of ranged attack as well, which I think is pretty cool. I think I'm going to use Igniting Mixture here on this guy. Here we go. That's going to ignite him. And then he's going to have like a debuff that will consistently do damage. And as you can see, this guy's actually gotten him a buff, which is a whip. Obviously, he's a Taskmaster. He is going to be, you know, persuading or coercing more like the other people on his team to gain additional buffs. In other words, he's gained accuracy and a 20% increase to damage, which is a little bit worrying, but we're going to continue our plan for focusing this guy down with his HP, and this other guy, there we go, he's dead, and this other guy we will be attempting to reduce his sanity. So that's exactly what we're going to do with this. There we go. And we'll see what we can do. Okay, so there's a debuff. They seem to not be doing that much damage to us, but oh, minus 30 accuracy. That is a pretty heavy... Wow, that is a pretty heavy thing indeed. Okay, so I'm just going to use Necrotic Wind again on this guy. And there we go. He's dead. Yes, because, again, as I've said, if you reduce your sanity, if you reduce the enemy's sanity down to 0, and then use additional sanity attacks, they basically die instantly, and you don't need to do anything with their HP itself. So what we're going to do now is, whoa, buff. The zombie gains plus 100% damage for its next attack. This stacks, by the way. Okay, I'm going to use Igniting Mixture to begin with here, just so that we can remove the ward, because some enemies do have things like block and ward, which can completely nullify either magical stress attacks or physical attacks. They also, of course, have armor and resistance and things like that, but critical hits ignore both of those. So if you can get like a critical-based character or something like that, you'll have a pretty decent time of things. So we're just going to use this to try and remove his block. There we go. So now we can technically attack him with any physical attack that we want, but obviously we want to be able to remove other things too. So, Soprano, that's not really going to help us too much. Let's just use a normal stress attack, because obviously it doesn't matter because he's using ward. So now that his ward and his block are both off, we should have a pretty fun time. So I'm just going to use this. There we go. Wow. And we also debuff him really nicely, which means that he has minus 15 evasion, so it's even easier for us. And we're going to use more powder. We're going to use more powder. There we go. All right. So yeah, we're going to continue to buff our zombie, and then we'll see what we can do about it. But I'm just actually, yeah, this guy has a pretty decent amount of HP, as you can see, so it's kind of hard to get him down. So we'll see what we can do about that. I might try to use Soprano now as well, so that we can reduce the amount of damage he's doing, because now that ward is off him, we should be able to debuff him a pretty considerable amount. So I guess I'm just going to continue using Necrotic Wind, because that will again debuff him and also reduce his sanity. Now I think what we're going to do, 4 times each time, dealing 50% to a random... Okay, wow, this is actually pretty cool. We're going to do this. So now that is a stance, which if you've played something like... Oh, where'd he go? Did he run? I think that guy actually ran. Oh, okay, well that's interesting. I was actually not anticipating that he would do that. But okay, I'm absolutely fine with that. At least we won the battle. And now we can equip Iratus himself with an artifact. Now these artifacts all have all kinds of different abilities. As you can see here, this allows Iratus to use Skullfall in combat, which is pretty amazing, because Skullfall is like this fire damage AoE ability, which does damage over time. It's really quite powerful. So technically what I could do now is I could swap out a skeleton, or I could create something else. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create another skeleton, because there are certain things that you can potentially do along the way which will enable you to sacrifice some of your units for rare items, rare and powerful items. And obviously the more powerful unit that you sacrifice, maybe the better items you're going to get. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I think that would probably be assumed. Anyway, let's take a look here. So yeah, by sacrificing minions, Iratus receives items and artifacts. Or we could go to the Fountain of Restoration, which restores mana to Iratus himself, or vigor to minions. Now personally, I think I probably want to go to that chest over there. So we're going to go to the Sacrificial Altar, and we will choose the skeleton to go over to the Sacrificial Altar, and we will put him in there and sacrifice him. There we go. So we gained a golden tooth, etched bones, steel spikes, a dagger of some kind, and a broken sword, which is all going to be very, very useful for us. Otherwise, we can continue onward.
Map like this is pretty handy.
Let's go through there. and we will do a battle. Yes. Okay, so this is where we actually get mana and wrath. Now, wrath obviously is basically a thing that you can do where it basically unlocks like a really powerful ability and then you can use it. And mana is something that you can of course use your own units to replenish if you so desire. Like some things like the Banshee have abilities that can replenish your mana. Otherwise we have Skullfall here, which deals 10 magic damage to all enemies and sets them on fire, like I said. And we're probably going to do that.
Say hello to my burning friend.
There we go. So that is actually really cool in my opinion. We do have another Taskmaster here. I might try and eliminate him first. Oh, enemies attack the skeleton more often. I think I like that quite a bit. Let's do that. There we go. So this is a brief sort of explanation of the stances. So I'm going to just read this because I'm not sure whether I actually said the appropriate explanation for it. So let's see here. So a one-turn stance is a stance that ends at the start of the character's next turn. A stance until the end of combat, the character will maintain the stance until it is cancelled or the battle ends. Any stance can be cancelled via forced movement or stunning, unless the description of the stance specifies otherwise. So that's basically what it is. It's basically like a constant ability. So if you've played like XCOM or something like that, it's kind of like Overwatch in a way. Anyway, what else do we have here? What is this? Stance. Whenever an enemy moves, the Banshee deals 60% stress damage to it. That actually sounds like a pretty fun idea, so let's do that. Because maybe some people are going to be moving around here. There we go. Fyhrr is dealing some pretty decent damage. There we go. He's buffing that guy. Let's try and kill this guy first, I think. Well, at least our Banshee is doing some nice damage with the stress attacks. Ghostly Fire, that is a curse, which deals 35% damage to the chosen target, and the enemy behind it curses the target for 2 turns, dealing damage per turn. So if you want to, you could do this, which I think I am going to do. There we go. I think that's really nice. And we're going to do... Ooh, we don't really need to set anyone on fire, to be honest. We could volley at some enemies, or we could just buff. Let's do the buff. There we go. Okay, so obviously the skeleton did take quite a bit of damage there, which I'm not a big fan of, but I think they're probably pretty cheap, so it shouldn't be too bad. Now, as you can see, we have enough wrath to be able to use this ability, which is Shield Banger, which deals 150% stress damage to the opponent. Not entirely sure if I want to do that, or whether I just want to do regular attacks. And what is this? Embrace Mediocrity. Links the skeleton with the target. That's the skeleton loses 30% vigor, the target loses 30%, or 15% for bosses, of sanity. Oh, that's interesting. I guess I'm just going to do a regular attack against this guy, maybe try and kill him, because he's kind of annoying, so let's just get him out the way. There we go. And what else can we do here? Well, we could do Wail to buff ourselves, or we could just do a normal ability, or buff ourselves. Maybe we'll just buff everyone. Apart from the skeleton, of course. Poor skeletons, they always get left out, don't they? Yes, well, at the very least, this guy is pretty low in HP, so that should be okay. Wow, this guy's getting buffed like no one's business. I might actually want to use Skullfall again, but we are quite far away from a restoration shrine, so it might make things a bit difficult, yes. Well, what about just using this? Let's just try and do massive damage to his sanity. There we go. And we've also debuffed him, of course. Okay, so let's deal some nice damage. So we could technically do more powder, because he already has one on him, so we could do another one. But I'm not entirely sure if I really want to do that. We could do Cannonball, which is going to do massive damage. Like, insane amounts of damage, actually. I'm actually thinking we'll do that. Let's do this. Boom! Whoa, okay. That was a lot of damage. And he's dead from the fire as well, so that's really nice. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Let's use Astounding Fortitude, because the skeleton's taking quite a bit of damage here, and I'm not a big fan of that, thank you very much. Otherwise, we're just going to continue using Scream against this guy, see if we can maybe reduce the sanity of him a little bit more. And, oh, nice armor absorbs as well. I'm very, very pleased about the armor absorb, because obviously that makes things much, much easier for us. And let's do a normal attack right there. do some HP damage, and then I think we can probably use bombardment. And then we can just kill this guy pretty easily. There we go. So now the Taskmaster is the only one alive. I don't know whether we're going to be able to get him before he runs away, because he did that last time. So maybe we'll be able to. Restores the target to full sanity, gives Iratus, should we say, mana equal to 30% of the restored sanity. That actually sounds really cool, but unfortunately he hasn't lost that much, if any. So that doesn't seem to make any difference. So let's just use a normal attack here to debuff him. I'm just going to try and debuff the enemy as much as possible here, because we want him to do no damage, basically. Ooh, a miss. Ooh, that was bad. But at least look at that. Look at how much damage he's capable of doing. Wow, that's just crazy. Okay, so we're just going to do that again. The zombie is actually really cool. Maybe I should just get all zombies and then just bombard the opponent. There's just so many different, shall we say, options for your squad in this game. It's really quite amazing. And I'm very much enjoying it. Oh, he's wanting to escape. He is wanting to escape. So let's see if we can actually kill him before he leaves. I don't think we're going to be able to. Oh, we might. Yes, we got him. Yes, thank you, zombie. Oh, the zombie's doing so much work for us right now. And there you go. So Iratus has advanced and gained a talent point. Now, I would like to definitely unlock a new talent, because they are very, very powerful indeed. Winning battles rewards Iratus with experience that increases his level. At each level, he receives talent points that can be used on the following ability trees. Alchemy increases the efficiency of your minions and resource economy. Magic spells weaken foes, requires mana to use. Ire spells strengthen minions, and deals direct damage to foes with destruction. Personally, I feel like Ire is pretty cool, because I would like to be able to increase the amount of minion power that we have. So maybe something like this. At the start of its turn, a minion gains initiative. Ah, okay. So I've had a little bit of an extra look here, and I think I'm going to go for Stoke the Flames, because personally I feel like extending ignition effects on the target by 1 turn is really quite amazing for 5 mana. But it only affects 1 person, so maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe that is not a good idea. All the minions and enemies gain luck until the battle ends. I don't know about this, you see. I really don't know. I mean, we already have some other things available to us. So maybe we should do alchemy. Increases the chance of receiving parts at the end of a battle by 10%. Receiving souls. Receiving artifacts. What about receiving artifacts? I think that seems like a pretty cool idea. Why not? Okay, so I think that is a pretty decent first look at Iratus, Lord of the Dead. If you would like to take a look at the store page, there is a link in the description. Otherwise, if you'd like to see more of this, let me know, and I would be very happy to play more for you. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.